Well, maybe if he can do this in his condition, maybe I can do things in my healthy condition. That's all I can say to that.
I was driving till I was 95, so the day I got the backup camera, I thought it was marvelous. So.
We're never too old to learn something new.
Welcome to Elder Wisdom, Stories from the Green Bench. We have a very special episode for you today. This is episode number 70. We're so pleased that you are here listening with us today. And as usual, we're going to have an informative and entertaining interview, full of wisdom, of course, from two very special women. I'm Kathy Buckworth, and as always, I have the pleasure of sharing this Green Bench with my co-host, Evelyn Brindle, who lives at the village of Erin Meadows in Mississauga. Evelyn, hello.
Hi, Kathy. It's nice to be with you and our podcast listeners.
It sure is.
I'm looking forward to our conversations with Sandy and Ellie today because it's a favorite topic of mine, traveling. Over the years, Dave and I have enjoyed seeing and exploring various parts of the world, and about 38 countries so far. But going around the world in 80 days when you're 81 years old is an incredible story and experience.
It sure is. And I'm just going to introduce these ladies and throw out a bit of background first. I cannot read their entire biographies because the podcast is not that long, Evelyn. So I'm going to, because they're so accomplished. So it is Eleanor Hamby and Sandra Hazelip, and otherwise known as Ellie and Sandy, but more commonly known as the folks behind, the two ladies behind Around the World at 80. Evelyn, they have more than 100,000 social media followers.
It's amazing, but I can understand why when I've looked through their blog and website. Fantastic.
Exactly. So a little bit about both of them. Ellie is an international documentary photographer based in Texas. She's traveled to 107 countries, all 7 continents, always with her camera. She serves as the director of the Zambia Medical Mission, which provides medical care to about 13,000 Zambians. She has 3 children and grandchildren. This is a busy lady. Just as busy is her partner, Dr. Sandy, who specializes in caring for residents in long-term care facilities and hospice, focusing on geriatric patients in the final stages of life. She's currently the medical director for Windcrest Health and Rehab and a physician for Hospice of the Big Country. Oh, she's, a published author, lecturer, traveled the world, and has children and grandchildren, and has taken them on short-term mission trips with her to Zambia as well. I can't believe we have you ladies actually on this call. You're not off on a plane somewhere. Welcome.
Thank you. We are excited about being here.
So I have to ask you right from the get-go here, how did this all come about? How did you become travel companions, and what inspired this amazing Around the World at 81 in 80 days?
Well, we initially met because of Zambia Medical Mission. Ellie and her husband were the directors, and I lost my husband in 1999, and he had suggested that we start taking our grandchildren on mission trips. And so I followed what he suggested, and that's how I met Ellie. And then Ellie's husband died unexpectedly about 5 years later.
Yes, and Sandy, my husband died in a tennis accident, so it was quite sudden. And I was having a hard time adjusting to life alone, since we had been so connected and did so much together. And one day Sandy calls me, and her first words out of her mouth were, "I've got a deal for you." And I said, "What?" And she said, "Look, the Abilene Regional Hospital in Abilene has just asked me to open up and run their geriatric clinic. But," she says, "I live in Eastland, which is 60 miles away. Don't really want to leave Eastland. I want to do my practice there in Abilene. So I need a bed 2 nights, a couple nights a week, and I'll take you out to eat." Well, that was 19 years ago. Oh, wow. And that's how Sandy and I started all this wild traveling. And actually, it was really two devastating losses. But then, we always say that God opens a window, and you just need to look through that window and see what's out there for you to do. And Sandy and I did, and that's how we started planning these trips. And tell them, Sandy, how we started around the world.
Okay, well, Ellie and I, besides our mission trip to Zambia, Ellie and I had taken 3 other very interesting international trips back when we were young in our 70s. And in anticipation of getting old and turning 80, I just mentioned to Ellie one day, wouldn't it be fun to go around the world in 80 days at age 80? Well, Ellie jumped right on the bandwagon with that, started making plans, and we make all of our own plans. So we had all of our hotel reservations made and all of our airline tickets purchased, and COVID shut it down that year.
Right.
But COVID did not shut us down. So we went the following year, and our new theme was Around the World in 80 days at 81 and still on the run.
Oh, I love it. That's amazing. Evelyn, I know you're also pretty desperate to be asking these ladies some questions. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
I want to know their secret of how to put all of those travel plans together. It's amazing the places that you've gone in that period of time. You've
Well,
had,
Evelyn,
go ahead.
Ellie and I planned that together. We one evening, she sat on one side of her kitchen counter with her computer. I sat on the other side with my computer open. And I said, Ellie, just name all 7 continents. I'm going to type those. She did. I said, now name all the different world wonders. I typed all of those. I said, now name all the major cities that Phileas Fogg went to on his around the world trip. I typed all of those. And so then we got the globe, and we looked at One World Alliance, and saw how they would let us travel. Go ahead, Ellie.
Yes, and the One World Alliance is they have around the world options. We took the top one, which gives you 16 segments, and for one set price, and you have to circumnavigate the world in one direction. But it was really great. And then the small little trips like London to Rome or some of those kind of things, we did with Travel Miles, or we kind of did a cheaper search engine for budget tickets. But that's how we did our flights.
That's
amazing. And then our hotels, Sandy and our budget hotels. And Sandy, tell them how much it cost us per night, per person on our around the world trip.
For our entire 80 days that we were gone, our average cost of our hotels, $29 a piece per night, and that usually included breakfast the next morning.
And they were some of the best places to stay in the world. They were not a fancy hotel, I guarantee you that. But we looked for like family-owned, small little boutique type of places, internationally particularly. And we do it through a search engine on the internet. We actually use booking.com. They should hire us. But anyway, they don't even know we did all this. And the first thing we look for is location. And once we have right where we want to be staying, then we tell it to search for ratings, because that is huge. How other people have rated where you might want to stay. And ratings really do not reflect price at all. That's what amazes most people. They think, it's got to be a high rating. It's going to be really expensive. Then the third thing, once we've narrowed down to location and ratings 8 and above, then we put in price. And then we look for the gym that's really inexpensive and has high ratings. So it's really, really worked for us.
I really love booking.com too. I'm going to put a plug in there as well. They are a really easy website to work with.
I've seen some of the hotels you've stayed at and the photographs of them that you've done, Ellie, and they're amazing. It's incredible, the bargains that you found.
You have to be adventuresome, and they're not always easy. So Sandy, tell them how one of our gyms was this $13 a night in Cairo, Egypt, but overlooking the pyramids. But you tell them how.
When the taxi dropped us off to go to that hotel, the taxi dropped us off in the alley.
Oh,
And I said, we're supposed to go down the alley to find our hotel? He said, yeah, just walk down the alley and you'll see a gate. Just rattle the gate and they'll let you in. That's what we did.
And it was an inn, and it was a home, like a 6-story home, and the parents had died, and the 4 sons were running it, and they were wonderful. We just had a blast. Now on the rooftop, you went up to the rooftop at night, and you could see the pyramids, the light show for free. It was just like wow, and it was $13 a night. So that was a gem we loved.
Did you have any other moments where you were a bit afraid or scared, or was it pretty much smooth sailing for you?
Sandy and I say we're concerned sometimes. We don't get scared too much.
Right.
But when they said dropped us in an alley, there was a bit of concern, but we're positive.
And mostly there was just a bit of mostly just surprise.
Right.
We're supposed to find the hotel down the alley.
Yeah. I have to ask this question. How did social media become involved as part of your journey? Was that something you thought about when you started this, when you put it all together? Is it something that evolved more organically?
Yes. What happened before we ever started going on the round the world trip, we both have our social media, just Instagram, Facebook, and that sort of stuff. But we had a friend who does this, and we said, look, if we send you the photos and write up what we want to say, can we just send that to you and you can post? And then that will, because we're not going to have time to do all that because we're busy every day and we come back into the room at night and we're pretty tired. So that's what happened. And of course, our Facebook and social media really picked up. And then before the trip was over, she had the idea, why don't you do TikTok? We said, great. Well, we did. And within a week and a half, we had one video that had 6.4 million views.
Amazing.
And we became known as the TikTok traveling grannies.
So, Ellie, why don't you also, in addition to social media, explain why we got picked up on all of the TV stations?
Yes. Whenever, about a week before we left, the only people who knew that we were doing the trip was our family and friends. But we were speaking at a local retirement center where Sandy had been the doctor before, and even our former patients were out there. And they had asked us to come, and they invited the local TV station. And they came, and you could tell they were really liking hearing what we were saying about our upcoming trip. And they said, we're going to run this as a feature tonight. So they did, and we thought that was great. A week later, we go to the airport, and we're actually standing there getting our boarding passes
in Dallas.
And I look down, and there's NBC5 Dallas, which is the #1 TV station in the Dallas area. And so we answered the phone. They said, where are you? We've got a crew on the way. So we said, okay, because Sandy and I, this is another little tip we do. We always get to the airport in plenty of time, just in case there's a little glitch. We want to have plenty of time to figure out how to solve it. Right. And then that ran, and then we were flying to the Antarctic, and we had our layover in Buenos Aires from Dallas. And we arrive in Buenos Aires, and there's an email from CBS News. And we always laugh at this. It says, we want this story. Do not contact ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox until we talk to you. So that, and then it just exploded across all over the world. We've been on TV in about 30, 40 different countries. It's just crazy.
And Ellie, you're a professional photographer, so certainly the photos would have, the level of quality of the photos would have helped with that a lot, I'm sure. The two skills that you bring, the medical side and the photographer side, that's very unique to your travels as well, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we had to ask every stranger just people off the street, would you shoot a 30-second video for us? Would you take our picture here? And it was amazing how people just anywhere would. Of course, we're two old ladies, don't we say that, Sandy? We're everybody's grandmother, okay?
I love it. Do you think traveling together has improved or impacted your health and your well-being?
Oh, absolutely. My specialty in medicine, as you've already read, is geriatrics. And it is so sad that when too many people, when they retire, they just sit in their easy chair and watch TV. And your mental health and physical health decline as a result of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that is very true.
And Sandy and I just have a very happy, positive outlook on life. In fact, people ask us, what happens when you have a problem? We have one answer, one word, and that is smile.
And you do that in most of your photographs that
Yes,
I've
we
seen.
do. We're smiling around the world.
Have you ever run into any problem that you may have had difficulty coping with?
Well, Sandy, tell about around the world. We had a problem getting into Peru, which we got part of our trip got canceled.
We knew, we wanted to see as many world wonders as possible, and so we had planned to go to Machu Picchu. And we knew before we flew out of DFW that there was political unrest in Peru, but we are the eternal optimists, and we were sure that after we went to Antarctica and Easter Island, that all of that would be okay by the time we wanted to fly to Peru. Well, 3 days before our flight to Peru, the political unrest was not okay and everything was shut down. So we had to make different plans. And Ellie, tell them what we did.
We decided to go to Argentina, and we just had a blast there. So we went to this Don Silvano's estancia, and goodness, I rode horses. Sandy was tango dancing. She's really not even a dancer, but they picked her out of the crowd, and we were the oldest ones there, and it was so fun. And she was dancing with the star of the show that they were putting on, and then she had a young man lined up to tap her shoulder. And they were young men. They weren't old men our age. It was one from Poland, one from Monaco. It was just really cute. So, you never know. You just got to go with the flow and enjoy.
Absolutely.
Sandy, I understand that you insist on taking a tablespoon of Pepto-Bismol every day when you're on your trips. And why is that? And does it really help?
Well, all right. Let me tell you the story behind that. It is not a medical background story. My oldest daughter adopted 4 children from China. My oldest daughter is an attorney. And before she went to China to get her first child, she did a lot of research. As an attorney, she is great in research. And she found some articles about the benefits of taking Pepto-Bismol on an empty stomach every morning to prevent travelers' diarrhea. And so actually, I went with her to China to get that baby. And we both took Pepto-Bismol, and we ate all over China, and we didn't get sick. So when I started going on mission trips with my grandchildren, I said, now listen, if you're going to go on a mission trip with me, you have to take a tablespoon of Pepto-Bismol every morning, and you will not make a face. Do you understand?
So both of us did it almost every day, and we ate. Street food. We're careful about. We do eat street food, but we're careful about that. But we never really had any significant problems at all. But it is kind of a controversial thing, so we really kind of been shying away from recommending it to everyone.
That's great. So have either of you taken any trips with your family or the grandchildren?
You should say that. Well, you're taking.
You start first, and then
our grandkids have gone all over the world. Both of us, even before we knew each other, we were taking trips with our grandchildren. So no, it's been. We love that, and I used to live in Africa, and then we kept going back there. I've been back there every year for 40 years, except the 2 years of COVID. And I have a house there, and we would always tell our grandkids we'd take them one at a time, which is the most fun way, because they don't have any sibling rivalries or, fighting or whatever. And we would always say, hey, well, after we do our work in Zambia, we'll go, where do you want to go? Because almost everything was on the way back from, from Africa. So, and we're both we've been budget travelers.
Yes.
So by choice.
So I, with my 7 grandchildren, my first grandson I took to Zambia every other year from the time he was 14 until 18. Then between years, I took his cousin to Russia every other year. And then those two were grown. It was time for grandson number 3, and he didn't have to alternate. I told him he was rewarded for all of the teasing he always got from his brother and his cousin. So I took him the first year to China, and we did volunteer work in a special needs orphanage. Then the next year was Zambia, and then the next year was Cambodia, and we served on the Ship of Life. And so we rotated Cambodia and Zambia. And then then it was time my 4 grandchildren from China grew up, and it was time to start taking them on mission trips. And their mama wouldn't let them go to some of the crazy places that I took the others. So I had been to Romania to speak at a ladies program there, and thought, this is a great place. And so I took those grandchildren to Romania and taught vacation Bible school in villages there.
Wow. So, travel has really exploded since, the pandemic has eased and lockdowns are over. And I actually write travel as well as doing this podcast. And I've written quite a few pieces on over tourism, which I'm sure you ladies have witnessed yourselves. Are you finding that it is a problem when you travel, the over tourism that's happening, and in particular, trying to find, budget hotels or places to stay where you want to be?
We have, of course, Sandy and I don't do tours.
Right.
We're always strictly on our own. And we really did not run into any places that we were, but we're kind of doing it on our own. We like to get a car and a driver wherever we are, if possible.
Yes.
And so we can, at the spur of the moment, we want to do this or we want to stop here, we can. But we have really not seen the problem. Maybe because when we did the Round the World, that was just opening.
Right.
The world was just opening up. We were some of the first big time, taking a very extended trip, some of the first travelers to do that.
Right.
So we haven't had, and we are not a big city people.
Okay.
Right. So.
Yeah, that makes a difference as well. The two of you are obviously great friends. Do you ever fight?
No. No, we really don't. We really don't. We know we get that you're about the 100th person or so that's asked us that question.
Right. I do have to remind Ellie when we are walking that her legs are longer than mine and she needs to slow down just a little.
But we are 2 different personalities, but we do have a very similar outlook on life. And we handle, I think one of the reasons we can travel so well together is when a problem comes up, neither one of us are breaking down, crying, and, oh, woe is me, what are we going to do? We just have this, okay, let's figure out how we can make this happen or adjust to what's happening. Because our very first trip together, we did the Trans-Siberian second class train.
Nice.
And we were coming from, we had stopped in Irkutsk and Lake Baikal. And before that, the train was just packed. And we were having fun with all the Russians, everybody. We were just having a blast. It was second class. And then when we get on from Irkutsk to go to Mongolia, there's no one in our car until we stop. And they asked about 8 hours later, and they asked for passports, and we give them ours. And then we hear them say passports again. And we said, whoa, there's somebody on that in our car. So I walk down there, and there's a Russian man on his bed in pajamas. He's not engaging at all. And so I turn around and go back, and I said, well, I'm a man down there. Well, then pretty soon the KGB came. Needless to say, they searched everything, took down 2 ceiling tiles, arrested pajama man, took him out. Then they come to Sandy and I, and then they start, tearing down our stuff and thinking we're accomplices with Pajama Man. And then they interrogate us, and then they come in finally and say, you're the only witness to do the crime. You're going to have to come and testify. We need all of your information. And, did what they say, and then we sat in our compartment for hours while they had our passports, I think, checking. But we even fell asleep part of the time. But
Nothing new.
We don't get uptight about those kinds of things. It's just kind of, oh, here's another adventure. Okay.
But the main reason we do this podcast is to share wisdom from people who have had great life experiences. And certainly you ladies do, especially in the world of travel. What kind of advice would you give to our listeners, maybe if they're hesitant about getting out into the world by themselves? They have been sitting in their chair since they retired. What advice would you have for them? How do you get started? Maybe you don't have to do 80 days, but how do you get started?
Well, I always say, first of all, get up out of that easy chair, step out of your comfort zone, make a list of things and live. And then Ellie and I make all of our plans before we leave. We don't leave to go on a trip and have things up in the air.
As best we can, yes.
And so that for us is a good way to travel.
But one of the things that Sandy and I both feel strongly about, and it doesn't matter what season of life you're in, you don't have to overhaul, learn new skills. You just have to keep loving the world and connecting to the people who cross your path. And that changes everything. Your whole viewpoint about life. Just love the world. The world's good. It's not full of bad people. And absolutely, age is just a number, right, Sandy?
Absolutely, and ours is unlisted.
No, everybody it used to be. Now everybody in the world knows we're 83 now, so it's just out there.
But one of the things that we both are so talk about doing so much, and that is when you're in a different country and a different culture, honor that culture. And when you go to places, there are rules that different places have as far as entering their facility. Honor that. We're no longer back home in Abilene or Eastland, Texas, and honor that new culture and honor their rules and smile at those people. Yeah. Remember, God created the world and He created all people.
And we for sure don't want to be that ugly American that so many countries and people think about. We once, when we were in the Middle East, and we met this young man from Iran, and he spoke impeccable English, right, Sandy?
Wonderful.
And he said, "Well, you're the first Americans that I have ever met and am able to talk to." And then we were talking with him, and he says, "You Americans view the world through different lenses than we do, the rest of the world does." He said, if you don't like a government, you don't like the people. But the rest of the world, we may not like your government, but we like the people. And that was kind of an eye-opener. Just because their government is this way doesn't mean the people are bad.
That's right.
I think that's
and that's what I just said. God created people, and He created us to be good.
One of our fun stories was around the world, and we were in Japan at Shinjuku at the world's busiest train station. 3.5 million people go through there every day. Wow. And they were all there scurrying around. And Sandy and I were just wanting to buy a ticket to Mount Fuji, and we could not. We were just stuck. We had our Around the World T-shirts on. And we're standing out there in the middle of nowhere. Out in the middle of all the buzz, the hustle and bustle. And
nothing was in English.
No, nothing was English. We tried kiosks. They wouldn't work for us either. And this young man comes up to us and he says, "I know you." And we said, "You know us?" And he said, "Yes, I'm Ziggy from Slovenia. And I read about you in the London Daily Mail," whichever one that was, last week, and here we are together in Japan.
Wow.
And he says, "It looks like you're having trouble." And we said, "Yes, we are. We're just trying to buy a ticket to Mount Fuji." And he says, "You know what? What I had to do today was just not that important. I'm going to take," because he had been there before to Japan, apparently. He said, "I'm just going to take the day and I'm going to help you all get that ticket to Mount Fuji." And he did. And that was just another example of the goodness of humanity. And we were never scared one bit. We got a picture with him.
Absolutely.
He was a darling. But
Yeah.
Ziggy from Slovenia.
Ziggy's famous now.
But you're so right about that. If you accept the culture that you're in and the way people are living, their food, uh, they're so accepting and helpful, and you learn so much more. And it's a
Yes.
pleasure when you're traveling. You come back with wonderful, wonderful memories. Yeah,
You are right, Evelyn. That is exactly the way we feel.
yeah, I can feel that, and I see that in your pictures too, Ellie. They're so beautiful. I love the ones you did of the doors and
Oh,
the
yeah, I
Taj
did.
Mahal at
Oh,
sunset.
yes, yeah. Oh, yeah, yes. Thank you. Thank you for looking at them.
So I have to ask if you have any other travels planned right now, the two of you, either individually or together.
Yes, we do.
Well, we just did, because everyone was asking that, so we thought we have to plan a trip a year. So we just did a few months ago in February. Where did we go, Sandy?
We went to South America because we wanted to go to Machu Picchu this year.
Since it got taken away from us, so we went to Brazil, the Amazon.
Oh, yes.
We
Galapagos Islands.
And in the Amazon, we went piranha fishing, even ate our own the piranha that we caught. We went alligator hunting. We found this little jewel of a place out in the middle of the Amazon. And it took us 2 hours to get there in the middle of the night with no lights on the boat. That got stuck quite a bit, and we had quite an adventure on that one.
Wonderful.
I was just going to ask about the most unusual food you've tried. Was that when I was in Peru, I had guinea pig, which I don't recommend. I'll be honest.
I know.
I had a hard time eating that. Yeah, but it was polite to eat it. And so, what's the most unusual food that you've tried on your travels?
Probably piranha fish.
Yeah, you just mentioned that. Yeah,
it is full of bones. So to eat piranha fish is not for the faint of heart. Right. Okay.
Better you eating them than them eating you, I suppose. So.
Absolutely. We have a picture of the teeth from those fish we caught. Particularly Sandy caught the big one, and it's like, oh my goodness, I could take off a limb, I think.
What is the most must-have item that you always pack in your suitcase?
Oh, great question.
Must-have items.
Number one, we take as little as we possibly can because we have a long journey to take.
But we take trekking poles,
yes,
so that when we are in, like when we were in Antarctica and the Arctic Circle, we needed those trekking poles for the snow. And when we were in Machu Picchu, we needed those trekking poles to get up the mountain. Mm-hmm.
So we use those collapsible ones that are lightweight and just you put them in your backpack. So that's really a good thing that we really like having. Other than that,
are you always traveling with just a backpack or a carry-on bag? Then really light, I imagine.
Yes. Around the world, we had one checked piece, but it didn't weigh, because when going to Antarctica, right, it could only weigh 15 kgs. So then we pretty well ran around 15 kgs for a checked piece. But we were going through several seasons, and so we had to have a heavier coat. But yes, we pack extremely light.
And I suppose, is there one place that you haven't been to that's on your bucket list that you need to get to?
Where are we going next, Andy?
We are going back to the continent of Australia because we're going to go to New Zealand.
Oh. And then some of the islands. Actually, we were recently on the Drew Barrymore show, and unbeknownst to us, they pop up on the screen that they're giving us this 18-day round trip adventure tour of New Zealand, everything paid for, and just for the two of us. So we're doing that in February. Yes. And then after we do New Zealand, then we're going out on our own to Papua New Guinea and a couple of the other small islands around there.
Very nice. Very nice. I feel like we could talk to you for another hour. but I don't know that we have the time.
Please.
I'm just going to ask before I leave everyone with all of your socials and where we can find you and follow you. Evelyn, you're a big traveler. Do you have any last questions for these wonderful ladies?
So exciting about talking with them and their incredible adventures. I do want to encourage our listeners to check out their blog and their website for more of their travel adventures and the fantastic photographs that Ellie has put up. It's called Around the World at 80.com. And it's just an incredible journey, even if you're not traveling yourself, to sit there and look at all of these stories and listen to them. And just amazing. You two are very incredible ladies. It's not easy to travel at that age, at least, especially if you have some handicap or so. I found it difficult at times, particularly with steps in a lot of the countries we visited. But it's always, as Hans Christian Andersen said, to travel is to live.
Yes.
And that's the best thing you can do in your life. I always encourage our kids travel as much as they can. You learn so much from it.
Absolutely. In fact, if our director's listening, Peter, are you listening? Can we take this show on the road? Can we do remote locations? Can we follow the ladies around?
There we go. There we go. I do want you all to know that Sandy and I both have 4 artificial knees between the two of us.
Wow.
So we're traveling with 4 artificial knees, and Sandy just had her hip replaced. So, just because you have some medical things, you could, I know sometimes you can't, but try your best with good rehab, and it works for us.
Your exuberance, your happiness just comes through your voices entirely through this whole episode. And, you've really made the day. I feel so much happier today. It's just wonderful.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. And going along with what you said a minute ago, Ellie has a saying regarding travel, and that is, the world is a book, and he who does not travel only reads one page.
And that's not actually, I didn't come up with that. I read that. So I don't want to get any credit for something that I wasn't dreaming up. But I certainly agree with it and really, really feel strongly about that.
Well,
and I do too.
And you ladies have been so inspiring today. And I hope a lot of our listeners are taking your advice and looking at booking their next trip, or maybe not 80 countries in 81 days, but at least getting out into the world. And again, you can find Ellie and Sandy on their social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and their website, and it's all around the world at 80. I encourage you to check out, as Evelyn had mentioned, the wonderful photographs and, of course, the travel advice and fun that they share there. Thank you so much, ladies, for being a part of our podcast today. I know this will be one of our very popular ones.
Thank you for inviting us. We had fun.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Well, once again, we're at the end of the episode, and we've shared a lot of wisdom. We've shared a lot of travel stories. We encourage everyone to come back and listen to our next podcast episode. Evelyn, any last words as we close off episode number 70?
I wish I was young enough to go and travel as much as they have, but days are ahead us always. But it's been a wonderful trip with both of these ladies.
And we can live through their travels online, right? We can see what they're doing. If you're listening to this podcast for the first time, there are about 70 other episodes that you can go back and listen to. We encourage you to do that. We encourage you to subscribe to our podcast and share your own elder wisdom by using the hashtag Elder Wisdom on social media. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, goodbye from myself, Kathy Buckworth, and Evelyn Brindle.
Elder Wisdom, Stories from the Green Bench, is brought to you by Schlegel Villages, a complete continuum of care, offering independent living to long-term care, celebrating and honoring the wisdom of the elder. To learn more about us, please go to our website, schlegelvillages.com.